This is the Canon 90D DSLR, digital single lens reflex. Reflex referring to a mirror that pops up in order to allow the light that travels through the lens to the sensor right at the back of the camera. Since we're on the lens right now, I'll just talk to you about this lens. All our cameras come with lens caps. Please make sure you return the camera with the lens caps, put them away in your pocket when you're about to take pictures, and put them back on when you've finished taking pictures. Let's put this one away for now. The other thing, when you are using the cameras, I strongly recommend, when you do not have the cameras on a tripod, to use the camera straps to keep the cameras safe and secure around your neck. They're very expensive, so let's take care of them. So on this lens, it is a zoom lens. It goes from the number 55, which is a telephoto closer up to our subject, to an 18, a wide angle lens. So it's an 18 to 55 zoom lens. Okay. On the lens you have two buttons. One that says AF to MF. This one refers to autofocus or manual focus. If you flip it over to manual, you can then focus on this ring right here all by yourself manually. Let's leave it on autofocus for now. Next to that is a button that says stabilizer, on or off. This allows the camera to compensate when you are using the camera and you might be a bit shaky because it's a windy day or something. So probably best to leave it on there for now till you get used to it. I find them pretty much on all the time. Very useful. Next I'm going to talk about the basics of this camera, how to use it, and the key features you need to know about. You will see an awful lot of dials on here and buttons. We won't be talking about all of them, we'll just talk about some of the key ones that you need to know about. The first one I think you need to know about is the on-off switch, which is just here. Flip it on, the camera comes on straight away. It automatically cleans the sensor and it's ready to rock and roll. Next we'll talk about the camera settings. On the left here, where the on-off switch is, it is set up on the green A button just there. This is the one I strongly recommend you use just until you get started and understand how to use it. So we've got the camera turned on. We have the mode dial set on the A, and we wish to take a picture. Our hands will naturally sit around like this, and our finger here will automatically land on the shutter release button. Click it once and it'll just take as many pictures as you wish. That's because the camera is on the auto setting. It's doing everything for you, focusing and exposures. The camera has an optical viewfinder. You look through just here with your eye and it will show you exactly what you're seeing through the lens at the front. This is the best way to actually view your images and the most accurate way to compose your photographs and take your photographs. As you can probably see, it also has an LCD monitor here, which is very useful, but it's not as accurate in your exposure. And if you're taking photographs in bright sunlight, you wouldn't be able to see the image very clearly on here. The same as we do with our mobile phones. If we're in bright sunlight, we have to shield the mobile phone in order to see it in some cases. So let's use this screen. I can show you also the screen will flip out and rotate in many different positions. It is also a touch sensitive screen, so please be aware of that one as well, because you may accidentally change things. So clicking on the actual shutter button, nothing will turn up on here. If I want to use that one, I have to come to this button just here, where it says Start Stop. We push that in once, and it will now allow us to see what's on our LCD monitor at the same time. And we can obviously take pictures whilst we're there. You can probably see that there are these little green squares in groups showing us where it's going to be in focus. That's the same as what we see when we look through the viewfinder, but they are red squares rather than green. I can't show you that one very well here. And when you want to take a picture, just click on the button and away you go, and it takes a photograph. So we wish to view the photographs that we've just taken, and we can do that by going just down here. There's a little blue button there, press it once and it will go to play mode and show you the photographs, and you can scroll through them and see the photographs that you like or dislike, and you can delete whichever one. Whilst we're here, I'd like to show you the difference in quality between taking a photograph using the LCD monitor and using the viewfinder. The first one, these were taken using the LCD monitor, the live view monitor, and they are a bit bright. They are the wrong exposure in my view. Then I took a photograph exactly the same with the viewfinder, the optical viewfinder, and it was far better quality. As you can see, the exposure is more accurate. Yeah, there is quite a difference there. So hence, I prefer to use the optical viewfinder whenever I possibly can. This is the mode dial on our 90D. At the moment it is set up as A. A does everything for you. The camera analyzes your scene and tries to choose the settings that produce the best image quality. So I'd recommend you start off using the A. As you get more advanced, you may decide that you wish to change the modes that the camera is set up on. If you wish to do that, you have to press in the center a locking button. You have to push it down and then you can turn the dial how you want. So we're going to turn it and we're going to look at the first one that comes up just there. This is special scenes. This has automatic modes for capturing specific types of scenes. So let's say you wanted to do some portrait photography, landscape, close-up photography or sports photography. When you use this one, will put the camera in the correct settings for that particular style of photography. So if it was sports, it would adjust the shutter speed to be faster to get the best, sharpest image of a fast moving object. Next we have the funny circle one, which is a creative filter which permanently affects your photographs with a special effect on the photograph. So I would recommend you don't use this one too much, as it will be a permanent effect. You will find it very hard to remove it in Photoshop later on. But I just want to make sure you know which one it is. Now this C1 and C2, they are custom settings that you can put into your camera and use. So we'll just leave those ones for now. And I'm going to turn it all the way around to P. P is the program auto exposure. The camera will select the f-stop and shutter speed to ensure proper exposure, but you can choose from multiple combinations of the two settings to get the best quality image. So it's a step up from auto. Gives you a little bit more creativity than the auto. Push the lock in again, go round to the one that says TV. TV is your shutter priority. The shutter is the noise that you hear when you take a photograph. And your shutter speed will be prioritized when you put it into the TV mode, and your aperture will be adjusted appropriately to go with the shutter speed to get the best. A shutter speed is probably one of the best ones to be used when you are taking sports photography, for instance, as it will be shutter priority. So you can choose the shutter speed that you want and it will change everything else for you. Pushing it in again, the next one to that is AV. This one is aperture priority. The aperture is a group of blades within the lens that open and close like an iris, allowing light in through the lens onto the sensor. So when you're in AV, it is aperture priority. Next is M. You've probably worked it out. M is full manual control. You can adjust everything in the M mode. So when you are perfectly happy using the camera in auto or shutter priority or aperture priority, I would strongly recommend you get into using the M as your main way of creating images. You have full creative control to get the best image qualities possible. Now, just to finish off with on the mode dial, there's a B. B is a variation of the manual mode. You can still control your aperture and shutter speed, but instead of setting a specific shutter speed, you hold the shutter button down for the length of time you want to take an image. So that would be very useful if you wanted to take a long exposure. So I'm just going to talk to you about this screen at the top just here and some of these buttons. Let's just turn the camera, wake it up. Now looking through here, it's showing us that the exposure is going to be very good. If it was over this way or over this way, it would either be too light or too dark. Yeah. Next, it shows us that the shutter speed is 30th of a second, so it would be quite a blurry image if it was a speeding footballer or something like that. 3.5, that's showing us the aperture. The aperture blades, as we talked about earlier, are a series of blades within the actual lens. Next to that, it shows us that we can take well over 1,000 photographs here with these settings. So that shows us we've got plenty of memory left on the camera. Next to that is the battery indicator. It is fully charged at the moment, so you can see that it has all the bars indicating it's fully charged. Just about that, it shows us that the camera is not connected to Wi-Fi. This camera is Wi-Fi enabled, but that's for another time. Next to that, it shows us how it's going to expose the photograph. It is mostly going to be working out the exposure from the center. Next to that one is the ISO number, which we can also adjust just here. Further to the left, we have the drive. If we change that, we can adjust this to be either taking photographs at high speed or an individual photograph. It has lots of different options in there. And over to the left there is the AF, autofocus. Clicking on that means we can change the AF from one photograph to active servo, meaning following the focus of a moving subject, and one where it sort of like holds onto that focus and tracks with it, but will not stay with it continuously like the active servo. Active servo is best used for following a fast moving object continuously. This is the quick menu. If you click on it whilst the camera's on, it will take you straight to the menu showing your key features. I'm going to click onto that one just there. This is our autofocus. It's showing us that it will focus once, or it can focus continuously, or it's active servo. Active servo is one that you would use, for instance, for sports. So let's just press the back button just here. Next to that, let's have a look at this one here. This is the focus choice. You can choose which one you want to use, and it has a lot of wonderful different selections. There is a button at the top you can use as well, but this is easier to show you on here. And we can choose between a spot, and I can move this spot anywhere within there. I could choose a group, and I could move the group within here so that it focuses on that specific area. Really, really useful. Or another group, more in a group sort of thing. Very useful. Or this one is everything within the autofocus selection. This is the ISO. We can adjust our ISO either on the very top just here where there's an ISO number, or we can change it just on the screen with the quick menu. The higher the ISO number, the lower the quality really. So if you need to try and keep your ISO down as low as possible, do not leave it up here all the time, because you will probably get the wrong exposures in bright sunlight and it will be not very good quality. So I tend to prefer, depending on the photographs I'm wishing to take, to stay somewhere around here sort of thing. Let's press the back button. In conjunction with the mode dial, when you are changing things here, you can press the Q button just here and it will show you what you can adjust within the individual modes on the top dial right here. So here we can change putting the flash on automatic or off. We can change a creative choice of things that we want to use very easily and very quickly, all back to neutral. You press the back button very nicely just there. So I'm going to switch it over to special scenes. And if I wish to see what my special scenes are, I press this Q button right here. And it'll now show me that I'm in portrait mode at the moment. Let's have a look. Maybe I want to be in group photographs, and it will set up the camera automatically to take pictures. Maybe I'm taking a wonderful landscape photograph. It will set up the camera automatically. Or sports fantastic. It just sets everything up. You don't have to worry about it, and you can quickly move between them all very fast. And creative mode. Let's see what it looks like. Press the Q just there, and it shows us all the different filters we can choose. We can do immediately black and white. We can do lovely soft focus. We can do very wide angle fisheye. Lots of filters that are built in here. And if you choose any one, you just have to say OK, and it will take all the pictures that you are taking at that time with that particular filter put on. So you must be very, very aware about using any filters on here. Until you come out of filters, then it disengages it. Now this camera has a built-in flash gun, and if you decide you wish to use it yourself and the camera's not opening up the flash gun, then you can press this button just here. It will flip it open. But in the auto mode, if the camera decides you do not need a flash gun, it will not set the flash off, as you see. But if you put it into P, TV or AV, you have now overridden and said, I want you to use this flash gun for the photograph, and it will then use a flash. So you can have this as a slight fill flash. Very useful in those modes, but it will not work in the auto mode. Do make sure that you close down the flash gun as well, because you don't want to put it away with it sticking up like that. You will damage it. Next, if you've gone through your photograph and you've decided there are a couple on there that you don't want anymore, you want to delete them, you come down here. There's a waste bin, a blue waste bin symbol. Click onto that and it will say, do you wish to cancel, erase, or erase all? You click on erase all and it deletes that particular photograph. The camera is set up at the moment to take 2 different photographs of the same subject. They won't always be like that. That was just an example. So if I want to delete, I'm in the play button, press there on the waste bin and erase all, and it erases the copies that it has of there. Now we're going to talk about creating your own videos using this camera. In order to do that, we go up to this switch here. It says start, stop, and just above it there is a switch. You flip it over to the red symbol, which is a symbol of a video camera. You now see straight away that the camera is gone into the video mode, and it's showing us that it's in manual. It's showing us the amount of time that you can record on here, 8 minutes and 58. This is the quick button just here or here, which you can use, and it's showing us also that the camera is on full focus, active focus, and just below that it shows 50th of a second and f5.6. You will remember that the camera's shutter speed needs to be double that of your frame rate. We can talk about that another time. The great thing about this camera is its autofocus is also activated via the touch screen. As you can see, I am just clicking on the button and I'm moving from the Nikon symbol there to the lens cap on the Nikon camera. And just like that, it will move from one to the other very smoothly. When you want to start recording, all you have to do is to press the start stop. Now the camera is recording away. It's showing us in the top there that it's done 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, etc. Whilst it's filming, we can still change the focus. And it's instant. I think you'll agree that's pretty fast. When you finish recording, just press stop. Whilst we're here, I'll talk about the quick menu button. You can either click here or you can click actually on the screen just there. Within here, it shows us we can change the autofocus to be tracking, so it will track if you've got a person walking in front. It'll also do spot focus, which means it'll be a very small spot in the middle. The one that I was just using a moment, single AF point, so I can just position it where I want. And then this one is the wide one. It does everything within there. So we'll just take it out. Now you can see it's got a larger square there that it's focusing within. Also within there you have your video presets that you can change yourself. You can change how the digital image stabilizer works within here. You can see the audio level, which is the moment you can see that's my voice at the moment. You can plug your headphones in here. Below that arrow is the auto white balance, which you can change and overrule it and do your own. And then there's various other ones that you won't really need to be using. They're the key ones that I need you to learn about. I also wanted to make sure you're aware that down the bottom here is a lock device. Very handy if you've got your camera over your shoulder and you're walking around and you want the camera on, but you don't want to accidentally take a photograph. Very useful. So flip it up and it will lock the camera. But it is quite easy to knock this sometimes, so do make sure when you pull out your camera and you wish to take a picture, finding it doesn't work, do make sure that this is flipped down, and that will give you full operation of the camera again. In order to change the battery, all we need to do is take it off the tripod if it's on one and go down to the bottom here. This is the battery compartment. Don't try and open it when it's this way up, open it this way up. As you'll see, when I open the hatch and I flip this white switch, the battery slightly pops out. So don't open it facing down because you could drop the battery. Let's not damage that. The batteries only go in one way. You cannot force them any other way. You will damage the camera or the battery trying to put it in incorrectly. So we've got our contact points just here. Slide it in nicely. It just falls in literally. Lock it in, close down the hatch. Camera's ready to rock and roll. We now finished taking our photographs and videos and transferring them over to a computer or external hard drive, all copied. In order to return the camera, we must format the card, the SD card that's in here. Press the menu button and by default it will go to the camera settings, which is the red menu options. We want to go to this one. That one is the maintenance. It looks like a spanner. Straight away it comes into format card. We wish to format this card? Yes. And it gives us a confirmation. Are you certain? Because you must be certain that you've got everything off of the SD card before you do this. We are certain. I am certain. Okay. Formats the card. Camera is ready to be returned.